She urinated in a director's face. People on the crew who touched her wig got hit. But now that she is 84, Faye Dunaway is finally telling everyone which famous co-star made her life a living hell. They couldn't even eat lunch together because their fight was so bad. Everyone on the set was shocked by what happened next. This is the nasty truth that Hollywood hid for years. Dorothy Faye Dunaway was born on January 14, 1941 in Bascom, Florida. She became Faye Dunaway afterwards. She had a father named John McDowell Dunaway Jr., who was an uncommissioned officer in the U.S. Army. Grace April Smith, her mother, was a housewife. The family moved around a lot because her father was in the military. They were in Mannheim one year, Germany. They were in Dugway, Utah the next year. Dunaway's life was shaped by moving around a lot. No matter where they went, she had to change quickly, but she saw more of the world. In 1939, her parents got married when they were young, but the marriage didn't last. They split up in 1955 when Dunaway was 14 years old. Maximian Dunaway, her younger brother, went on to become a lawyer. In her family tree there were Ulster Scottish, Irish and German roots. She was interested in the arts as a child. Aside from ballet, she learned how to tap dance, play the piano, and sing. She wasn't just interested in taking part in shows, she meant what she said. People from the tiny Florida town of Two Eggs still claim her as their own, even though most biographies put Bascom as where she was born. Town wasn't big enough to have a post office, but she was like one of the people who lived there. It didn't matter where she came from. Even though she grew up in a small town, she still had big dreams. She went to Leon High School in Tallahassee and then started college on a grant to teach at the University of Florida. She had planned to become a teacher at first, but her love for playing was too strong for her to ignore. She changed schools and got her degree in acting from Boston University's School of Fine and Applied Arts in 1962. While she was at Boston University, she worked with the well-known director Lloyd Richards and was in The Crucible, where writer Arthur Miller saw her on stage. Also did plays with Jane Alexander at Harvard's Loeb Drama Center during the summer. Even after she graduated at age 21, she kept training. In New York, she went to school at the American National Theatre and Academy and took classes at the HB Studio. She didn't wait around. She got a part as Thomas More's daughter in A Man for All Seasons on Broadway in 1962, the same year she finished. After that, she became very popular on stage. In 1965, she was in After the Fall and Hogan's Goat. Her role in Hogan's Goat got good reviews and helped her start her career. William Alfred, who wrote the play, became like a father figure and guide to her. After some time, she said that he had a big impact on her life. She didn't stay on stage very long. In 1965, she moved on to TV, where she was in Seaway and The Trials of O'Brien. These parts helped her move from the stage to the big screen. She had already shown what she could do on Broadway, but TV was different. The acting had to seem more real and subtle. Quickly made changes. Hollywood knew what was going on. It was 1967 when Faye Dunaway's life changed. When she was Bonnie Parker in Bonnie and Clyde. She had only played a few small parts before that. After that, she was one of Hollywood's most talked about actors. The movie was about Bonnie and Clyde, two bad guys who lived during the Great Depression. It wasn't just another crime movie though. Style, a lot of energy, and a new sense of danger. Because of Dunaway's work, Bonnie was more than just a bank robber. She knew a lot, was brave, and loved Clyde very much. People were crazy about her because of how she held herself, how confident she was, how sharp her eyes were, and how she made crime look almost glamorous. For her work, she was nominated for an Academy Award and won the BAFTA for Most Promising Newcomer. It was the David Donatello Award for Best Foreign Actress that she won as well. She became famous after just one movie. People didn't like the movie when it first came out. Lots of people were shocked by how violent it was, especially when Bonnie and Clyde were shot and killed in slow motion at the end. Some critics said it made crooks look good. Some people thought it was one of the most risky movies of the decade. It became clear that Bonnie and Clyde wasn't just a hit over time. Hollywood went through a big change. It was different from anything else because it had rage, love, and rebellion all in one. It was a big part of the start of the new Hollywood trend, where filmmakers were braver and tried new ways to tell stories. A big reason why the movie was so successful was how well Dunaway and Warren Beatty, who played Clyde Barrow, got along. Beatty was more than just her co-star. He also made the movie, so he had a say in almost all of the choices that were made. He wanted everything to be just right. That sometimes made him and Dunaway angry, but the fights between them made their acts even better. They fed off of each other's energy, which made their interaction on screen feel electric. Critics took note. Roger Ebert, who was seen as one of the best movie critics at the time. They said that Dunaway and Beatty's roles were the best of their lives. It was a time of change when the movie came out. America was in the middle of the Vietnam War in 1967 and people were more skeptical than ever before. That was a great mood for Bonnie and Clyde. It didn't just treat Bonnie and Clyde like bad guys. Instead, it made them more interesting and even likable. At that time, Hollywood didn't do that very often. The style of the movie made it stand out too. The violence that happened slowly, the story that moved quickly, and the way that crime looked exciting all had an impact on directors like Martin Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino. It changed everything. Even how movies were graded. There were strict rules about bloodshed and crime in movies before Bonnie and Clyde. These rules were broken by this movie, which led to the current scoring system. Donnie thought Bonnie and Clyde was just the start. She had been in movies like The Happening before 1967, but she wasn't well known. After that, Hollywood agents scoured the world to get her work. Starred in 3 movies: The Thomas Crown Affair, Chinatown 68, Chinatown 1974, and Network 1976. She showed a different side in each movie. Her role as Evelyn Mulray in Chinatown was a woman with a lot of secrets. Her role on Network was Diana Christensen, a TV producer who is cruel. She got an Oscar for Best Actress for that part. Dunaway thought of Bonnie and Clyde as the movie that changed everything years later. She told me it made me a star. Now I was with actors who would do artful work. Her fame didn't just come from the movie, it put her in the history of movies. In the 1970s, Faye Dunaway's rise to fame was almost impossible to stop. She wasn't like every other Hollywood star. On screen she was strong, taking on parts that were risky, complicated, and memorable. The Thomas Crown Scandal in 1968 was her big break. She played Vicki Anderson, a smart insurance detective, and fought Steve McQueen's character Thomas Crown, a millionaire who planned a string of bank heists. They were attracted to each other and competed with each other. Every scene between them was like a fight of wits, but the chess scene was the best. Close-ups and split-screen techniques were used by director Norman Jewison to make it more than just a game. It became one of the most famous wooing scenes in Hollywood, with every look and move that made it more tense. There was no denying that Dunaway and McQueen got along. Things were not always smooth off-screen. McQueen was picky. He insisted on wearing $400 handmade suits, which cost more than $3,500 today. And he even learned how to play polo. For realness' sake. Being from the theater, Dunaway worked hard to give her role more depth. It worked even though they had different styles. The movie became well known. The song that was used as the movie's theme won an Academy Award, and Dunaway became known as an actress who could be as intense and smart as any leading guy. She was a star before Chinatown, but that movie made her famous. When she played Evelyn Mulray, it was one of the scariest parts of her career. At first, Evelyn seemed like the perfect femme fatale. She was beautiful, mysterious, and hard to figure out. But as the movie went on, her character became more sad because she was hiding something that would make everything different. It was heartbreaking when she finally broke down and told him the truth about her daughter Catherine. It wasn't just a shocking turn of events. There was nothing but sadness. Jack Nicholson played JJ, a private detective. Gitis, a man who is set on finding the truth. There were times when he was tense, suspicious, and sometimes tender in his scenes with Dunaway. The reviewers liked what she did. Roger Ebert said it was one of the most complex movies ever made. Chinatown was nominated for 11 Academy Awards, and Dunaway's act became one of the most studied in movie history. But it wasn't easy to film. People knew Roman Polanski for being hard to get along with. He pulled out a loose hair from Dunaway, which became one of the most famous things that happened on set, without notice, which caused a very angry argument. Still, the stress behind the scenes made the movie even more exciting. When Dunaway joined the network in 1976, she showed a whole new side of herself. She played Diana Christensen, a TV executive who was crazy about power and numbers. She had never played a part like that before. She wasn't interested in love or values, she only cared about making money. She used everyone around her to get what she wanted, which was more viewers by pushing the edges of TV. She couldn't stop thinking about work even when she was alone. People who reviewed her were shocked by how brave she was in the part. Diana was cruel, never said sorry, and impossible to avoid. Some people thought the character was too selfish and cold. But that was the whole point. She stood for the new age of media in which fun was more important than doing the right thing. The movie Network was a harsh assessment of the future of TV, and it turned out to be eerily correct. The fact that Dunaway won the Oscar for Best Actress showed that she was at the top of her game. For a change of pace, she also did a thriller called 3 Days of the Condor in 1975. She had to be brave, smart, and quick on her feet while playing Kathy Hale, a photographer who gets caught up in a CIA plot. Robert Redford, who was a big star at the time, was in the movie with her. The energy between them made the movie even more tense. When she wasn't on camera, Dunaway laughed that it was hard to look scary when Redford was kidnapping you. However, she did more than just play a love interest. By giving Kathy depth, she changed her into someone who wasn't just stuck but was also trying to stay alive. The movie was a big hit and she was nominated for a Golden Globe. She was at the top of her game by the late 1970s. After that, Mommy Dearest came out in 1981. A movie that made everything different. She accepted the part of Joan Crawford because she thought it would show a different side of her skills. The movie was based on Christina Crawford's book, which showed how controlling and cruel her mother was. As Dunaway saw it, it was a chance to give a Hollywood figure more depth. But something went wrong. What was supposed to be a serious story turned into a funny one by accident. During early showings, Paramount Pictures saw that people were laughing at scenes that were meant to be scary. No one felt sorry for them, instead they were amused. It turned into a cult favorite for the wrong reason instead of being a sad story about a mother and daughter. One of the most famous scenes in the movie changed the course of Dunaway's career. Joan Crawford yells, "No wire hangers ever," while she hits her daughter out of anger. The way Dunaway said the line and the crazy look on her face, because she was so angry, it became bigger than the movie itself. People weren't able to take it seriously. The critics were mean. Roger Ebert gave it 1 star and said it was painful to watch. Received 5 Golden Raspberry Awards, one of which was for Worst Actress to Dunaway. The movie did not make $25,000 million, even though it cost $10 million to make. Dunaway went from being an Oscar-winning actor to being the face of Hollywood excess. Been a lot better. Dunaway was famous for how intensely she played her parts and never changed. This made it hard to work with her on Mommy Dearest. Later, Rutanya Alda, who played Joan Crawford's helper, said that Dunaway was bossy and demanding, adding stress to the set. Dunaway understood how much the movie hurt her career after it came out. She later said she felt bad about taking the part because it made people think badly of her. People thought she was one of the best actors of her time before Mommy Dearest, and after that, directors were hesitant to cast her. She had a hard time finding parts that were as successful as the ones she had before for the rest of the 1980s. She went to England and worked mostly in TV. She got a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress in the 1984 miniseries Ellis Island, when she played the lead role. It was too bad she missed making important movies. She later said that TV stories were not as deep as movie scripts like Chinatown. Other parts of her life also got worse. She split up with photographer Terry O'Neill in 1987. Another failure in a decade that has already been hard. She found a part that made people remember why she was a star in the first place that same year. Barfly is a gritty drama based on Charles Bukowski's semi-autobiographical book. She played Wanda Wilcox in it. In the movie with Mickey Rourke, she played a drunk woman who was in a bad relationship. The part was rough and not very cool. It got great reviews. Pauline Kael said it was one of her best shows. Even though Roger Ebert had made fun of Mommy Dearest before, he praised her for pushing herself in a way that not many actors would. When she was nominated for her 6th Golden Globe, it looked like she was coming back for a short time. In the 1990s, she went back to working on TV. The part of Columbo in 1993 was one of her most well-known. It's all fun and games. If you remember, Peter Falk, who played the famous detective, wrote the show himself with Dunaway in mind. Her role was Lauren Staton, a pretty lady who got caught up in a game of hide-and-seek with Columbo. There was electricity between them. The episode was different from the others in the series because it was more about the tension between the two characters. She got the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Guest Actress because of how well she played her part. Later, she said it was her chance to make things right, showing that she could still control the computer. She had another big part in 1996 when she played opera legend Maria Callas in Terrence McNally's play Master Class. In the play, Callas was portrayed as a master teacher who taught young singers about her past. Dunaway learned a lot about Callas by watching talks and listening to recordings of her to get a sense of her voice and mannerisms. She gave one of the best performances of her life. Both critics and audiences gave her standing ovations. The part was a reflection of Dunaway's own life, as an artist who struggles with fame, getting older, and the need to be perfect. She worked with Johnny Depp on 2 movies at the same time. In 1993, She played the strange woman Elaine Stalker in the surreal comedy drama Arizona Dream. Stalker was hooked on making a flying machine, but it became a cult favorite after it didn't do well at the box office. In 1995, she worked with Depp again in Don Juan DeMarco, where she played Marilyn Mickler, a woman who finds love again through her husband's interactions with a guy who thinks he is Don Juan. Dunaway played the part with warmth and style, working with Marlon Brando. People liked the movie, and it made them remember how talented she was. In the 2000s she kept playing, but her parts were smaller. In 2017, she was in the psychological movie Inconceivable, which also starred Nicolas Cage and Gina Gershon. The movie got mixed reviews, but Dunaway made her role more interesting. In the same year, she returned with Warren Beatty at the Academy Awards to present Bonnie and Clyde. It should have been a moment to honor their famous movie, but it turned out to be one of the worst Oscar mistakes ever. Due to a mix-up with the boxes, Dunaway called La La Land the winner when Moonlight was really the winner. The mistake spread very quickly. Even though it wasn't her fault, it was another strange part of her success. Faye Dunaway had a very exciting love life, just like the roles she played in movies. She met Italian star Marcello Mastroianni in 1968, while they were both working on the movie A Place for Lovers. They had great chemistry, and their on-screen relationship turned into a real one quickly. But there was a catch. Flower Carabella was already married to Mastroianni. His love for Dunaway didn't change because of that, and she loved him back. They were in a passionate and secretive romance for 2 years. Dunaway tried to avoid the cameras by covering up with wigs and big sunglasses whenever she went to Rome to see him. Her dream was to get married and have kids, but Mastroianni wouldn't leave his wife. His faith was very strong Catholic, and he thought that marriage was forever. Dunaway waited for him to change his mind. Then in December 1969, she went to a Christmas party and saw Mastroianni with his wife. They were happy and hugging each other. It became clear at that moment, she knew he wasn't going to leave. It broke her heart. Not long after that, she broke up with him. After many years, both acknowledged their mistakes. Dunaway often thought about what their life would have been like if they were married. He called her the woman I loved most and would never forget. Their love story is still one of the saddest in Hollywood. They were no longer together by 1972. In that year she met Peter Wolf, who was the lead singer of the band J. Giles. Behind the scenes at a show in San Francisco, she was drawn to him right away. His powerful deep voice and mystery charm. She couldn't stop herself. They got married after 2 years. It looked like a great match. She had a lot of fame in Hollywood. At the height of his fame he was a rock star, but they couldn't spend time together because they were both so busy. He was always on the road. She was on set all the time. It was getting too far away, and by 1979, they were no longer married. Their split was thought to be the subject of Wolf's hit song Love Stinks, but he denied it. Their split wasn't nasty like a lot of Hollywood divorces. There wasn't a scandal or a big fight. It was just two people whose jobs took them in different ways. Wolf was still a big part of Dunaway's life after they got divorced, but she still talked about him with love. During a picture shoot for People magazine in 1977, she met the British photographer Terry O'Neill. They hit it off right away, but their relationship didn't start right away. Their friendship grew over time, and in 1980 they made a choice that would change their lives forever. They took in a little boy named Liam. They got married after 3 years. At first glance, it looked like a great start to a new chapter. Things were hard behind the scenes though. Pressure from Hollywood and differences in their personal lives slowly tore them apart. In 1987, they were no longer married. There were rumors going around. Some people thought Dunaway had given birth to Liam behind everyone's back. While O'Neill finalized his divorce from his first wife, some people claimed that Liam was adopted. Later, O'Neill said that their relationship got too hard to keep up. He was always a part of Liam's life though. For Dunaway, being a mother was her most important job. As a single mother, she raised Liam after the split and kept working. She made sure he was a part of her life by taking him to movie openings and red carpet events all the time. Their friendship stayed strong as he grew up. Liam started his own family in 2022 when he and his partner, Mackenzie Roth, had a boy named Oliver. When 2024 came around, Liam and his mother worked on a documentary called Faye. It had its world premiere at the Cannes Film Festival. It looked at how she became famous, her mental health problems, and how hard it is to balance being famous with your personal life. In her time, Faye Dunaway was one of the best actors around. But what she did when she wasn't acting made the news just as much as her acting. A crew member on an independent film set said she urinated on an outfit out of spite, which was one of the strangest claims. It's still not clear what happened, but the story became one of the most famous examples of how diva-like she was. People who worked with her said she was picky and hard to please a lot of the time. She often talked down to team members and yelled at co-stars. It didn't matter if this story was true or not, it was part of a long history of strange behavior that made people in Hollywood both fear and respect her. Her private life was just as exciting. She used to be married to Peter Wolf, the lead singer of the band J. Giles. In his 1995 autobiography, Waiting on the Moon, Wolf wrote that Dunaway had an affair with Jack Nicholson while they were married. It took place in 1973 while the movie Chinatown was being made. Wolf was in their house downstairs. When he found out, he had no idea that Dunaway was in bed with Nicholson upstairs. His response was absolutely explosive. He was so angry that he picked up a cocaine-stained coffee table and threw it into Nicholson's pool. Even though they were lied to, Wolf and Dunaway got over it. Their marriage was rocky after they got married in 1974. They split up in 1979 after fighting for many years. Not every relationship ended badly. Marcello Mastroianni, an Italian actor, once said that Dunaway was the woman he loved the most. In 1968, they met on the set of A Place for Lovers. When they were in a love scene, director Vittorio De Sica had to step in and sometimes throw water on them to break up the kiss. They dated for 2 years, but Mastroianni was already married to Flora Carabella, an actor. He wouldn't leave his wife, which broke Dunaway's heart. In 1969, she broke up with him after seeing him with Carabella at a Christmas party. He never got over her. He talked about Dunaway as the love of his life until he died in 1996. He always felt bad that he let her go. By the 1980s, Dunaway was still getting big parts, but her reputation for being hard to work with only got stronger. On the first day of shooting for Mommy Dearest in 1981, she hit her co-star Rutanya Alda. There was no script or plan for it. She really hit her. Alda said later that this moment set the tone for the rest of the show. There was tension in the air. Dunaway put so much into her performance as Joan Crawford that some people thought she was starting to act more like the intense and controlling real-life Crawford. Even though it was in the later years of her career, many of the people who worked on the movie said it was one of the worst experiences of their lives. It didn't stop her from losing it. In 2019, she was hired in Tea at 5, a play about Katharine Hepburn that is going to Broadway. The show didn't last very long. Dunaway was fired before the show even started. Crew members said it was dangerous to be at work. She hit people who were trying to fix her wig. She threw things at the staff. She made strange requests like not letting anyone wear white near her because it drew attention away from her. Things got worse when she yelled at the creative team on voicemail and made them clean her dressing room floor on their hands and knees. To the point where she lost it, a show had to be canceled minutes before it started because of one of her temper tantrums. The workers were done for the day. They fired her right away. Bette Davis and Faye Dunaway were two of the most powerful actors in Hollywood. This was more than just a movie that they worked on together in the late 1970s. It turned into one of the most well-known fights in the business. Davis had been famous for many years. People knew her for her quick wit, hard work, and no-nonsense approach. Dunaway was part of a new group of actors who believed in method acting and getting to know their characters well. The way they did things was different, so they were doomed to fight from the start. It all started during a very important scene. Davis said her lines perfectly in one take and was ready to move on. Dunaway was not happy. She wanted to do it more than once to get it right. Davis got antsy and said, "I don't have all day." Dunaway wouldn't give up. She said, "We need to get this right." The fight set the tone for the whole show. They got into another big fight because they didn't agree on how to block a scene. Davis liked things to be easy. Dunaway wanted to try shooting from different points of view. Even though Robert Aldrich, the director, tried to make things less tense, nothing worked. When their fight went physical, things got worse. Dunaway had to hit Davis in one scene. Through several takes, Davis's cheek turned bright red by the end. She never said anything bad. The event made them even more angry. Though, off-screen, they stayed away from each other. Did not want to eat lunch with Dunaway at the same table. Instead, she ate by herself in her park. The news quickly learned about their fight. There were a lot of stories and gossip pages about their fights. Davis didn't think twice when asked about Dunaway many years later. She called him the worst person I've ever worked with. Even though they were being rude, their acts were great. Their competition on screen felt real because of the tension between them. The movie was a hit, but their relationship was still one of the most famous in Hollywood. Dunaway didn't always have such tense relationships at work. With Jack Nicholson, things were more complex, but they treated each other with respect in the end. In 1974, they were both in Chinatown, a neo-noir movie that became a classic. 11 Oscars were given to the movie and one was for Best Original Screenplay. There was no denying their chemistry, but there were some problems with the process. Nicholson hitting Dunaway's character after she tells a shocking secret was one of the most intense parts of the movie. They used fake hits at first. Dunaway didn't like how things turned out. It would have been more powerful if Nicholson had really hit her. Nicholson thought about it. "You really fear?" he asked, calling her by the name he had given her. She said yes. But when he finally hit her, the scene became much more intense. Nicholson had respect for Dunaway, but he sometimes had a hard time with her. Began calling her the dreaded Dunaway because she could be so demanding on set. Even though they had some disagreements, they got along well. Chinatown was one of the best movies of the 1970s, and these actors helped make it so. Not Dunaway and Nicholson, but other people were in the real fight on Chinatown. It was between Polanski and Dunaway. Their friendship was one of the most explosive between an actor and a director in Hollywood history. Polanski insisted from the start on casting Dunaway, even though director Robert Evans told him she had a reputation for being difficult. It didn't bother Polanski. He liked working with players who made him think, but when they got to work on the movie, their personalities clashed in ways no one saw coming. Early in the process, they got into one of their worst fights. She had one piece of hair falling across her face during a scene. Polanski gave up after several failed efforts to fix it. Out of the blue, he walked over and pulled the hair out himself. Dunaway was very angry. She stormed off the set and wouldn't come back for hours. Later, she said that what he did was constantly nasty. It wasn't just about personal space that they fought over. They fought all the time over creative options. Polanski was a control freak who made sure everything was just right. Dunaway wished she had more freedom. At the end of one of their worst fights, Dunaway threw a drink in his face. Some people who saw it said it was water. Some people said it was pee. Whatever the truth was, they couldn't even stand to be in the same room. Even though it was crazy, Chinatown turned out to be a gem. Years later, both Dunaway and Polanski said that their disagreements made the movie more intense. Polanski said she was strong. Even with everything, Dunaway agreed that his directing was great.